Hi, everyone. Welcome to our, there we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on cloud migration and modernization. My name is Chris Johnson. I'm the US-based sales director here at Veraqor. For those of you who are not familiar with us, as a brief overview, Veraqor is a global technology provider of cloud migration, information technology, and digital business transformation services. Veraqor serves enterprises and startups alike in various industries, including healthcare, manufacturing, retail, energy, oil and gas, and technology. So we work with each of our clients on reimagining their business needs and their models, developing strategies to help grow their business in new ways. We're a big believer in harnessing technology for a better tomorrow, serving humanity and delivering on excellence. So on the call with us today is our trusted cloud expert, Safdar. Safdar has extensive experience around developing enterprise scale applications, business solutions, including cloud enablement, application modernization, integration framework, security, and digital transformation. Prior to his journey to Veraqor, Safdar worked for companies like Mercedes-Benz, Talbot, and Weir Minerals. I'm happy Safdar was able to join today to walk us through this cloud migration and modernization session. And without further ado, Safdar, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining. This is Safdar, solution architect from Veraqor. I have 14 years of experience on the cloud transformation and application modernization and integration framework, right? So, guys, today I'm here to walk you through our cloud migration and modernization session. This session is intended to share with you the capabilities that Azure Cloud offers to meet your needs of today and for the future. So guys, my goal is to provide you with an overview of key concepts of the cloud migration and modernization, including their approaches. So here we go. So guys, today's agenda, we will be covering why companies are moving on the cloud, why Azure, and the key concepts of migration and modernization. And then we will go with the approaches, how to migrate and modernize our on-prem workload to the cloud, right? And then we will, explain you to accelerate your migration with Veraqor. So, yep. Now, before moving on, I have one question for all of you. I would really appreciate if you, put your answer on the chat box, and you have a 10-second, right? So the question is why companies are moving to the cloud, right? And for 4 top participants will give you, a free briefing offer and 10% flat discount on, enterprise consulting offering, right? So we are waiting here, time start for the 10 seconds. Yep. All right. Okay, moving forward. So this is the, migration and modernization triggers. These are the migration and modernization triggers for, just like cash flow challenges, including capital expenditure, operation expenditure, like business continuity. Okay, so business continuity would say cloud ensure business continuity for mission critical systems that cannot tolerate interruption in service with high availability cloud infrastructure, right? And regarding capital expenditure and operation expenditure, sometimes require large upfront investment leading to lengthy approval process and high risk. And it's difficult to estimate for further needs, and enterprise often have to over provision to be on the safe side, right? Regarding operational expenditure, I would say pay per use allow to enterprises to only pay for what they use on the cloud. So this is the advantage on the cloud when you pay only for what you are using actually. So it's easy to scale up or down, and definitely less investment, operating cost, risk, and speed up budgeting process, right? So, and beside all this, rapid scale application infrastructure. So scalability is most important trigger, I would say. For example, more or less computing power storage, right? or bandwidth would be required on the basis of needed, it would be right there when they're needed and from the right geographic location. So in your case, what would be the trigger point for you to moving to the cloud? So you can type in your chat box, right? So we'll see. All right. So these are the migration and modernization trigger usually organize across all the organization. That includes cybersecurity threats, cash flows as we discussed, capital expenditure, operational expenditures, data center contract expiries. So all these are usually migration and modernization triggers. So if we talk about the business values of the cloud, right? There are, many advantages to adopt the cloud business. Moving to the cloud, do so for a range of motivations, seeking a variety of benefits. And these benefits fall into the 4 categories usually, cost, agility, service quality, and new scenarios. And agility would be one of the great benefit of the cloud, where we can leverage CI/CD DevOps feature to market your product and service in a very short time, even without impacting your timelines. So and that save your time in managing and deploying the application through automation frameworks, right? So and also cloud ensured their 99.9% SLA for their service quality, scalability, security, and compliance with the industry best practices, and also with the benchmarks like ISO standards and SOC compliance, etc., etc. So all these, the cost, agility, service quality, and new scenarios are the the benefits. Yep, for the cloud from the cloud. But one more thing, for the future envisioning, will always be there by leveraging advanced AI ML, IoT services for the new scenarios and the big data cases, right? AI cases and digital transformation. So yeah, that's really help. Right. So based on the recent survey, the 50% of the organization that are using public cloud, and the coming year that will be increased, 50%. And while 60% organization reported that their usage on cloud has been higher than planned in the recent year. So yep, these are the statistics, basis on the recent, I would say, survey. And based on 2021 survey across all the organization, you can see these are the states, right, of the cloud services that are being, I would say, used by organization. But you can see 70% cases studies are related to migrating their workload to cloud. And honestly, there are a lot of pressure on CIOs from their business leaders to evaluate migrating to the cloud services, because since they know PaaS would reduce app management and deployment time, so they want to leverage the cloud services and their benefits, right? So we extract the top 3, stats across all the organizations for 2022. So you can see there 59% is for optimizing existing use of cloud, which is cost savings, right? And 57% says for the migrating more workloads to the cloud, right? With existing one, and moving from the on-prem software to the SaaS services, which is 42%, right? Another question would be in your mind, definitely, that would be why migrate and modernize to Azure? We have other clouds too, yeah. So we can say the Microsoft is very focused on application performance. And one of the great thing about running on the Azure is that based on my personal experience, that as we constantly optimize performance, and all their customers get to benefit from those improvements, right? And we know customers have a range of workloads to, so Azure offers planet scale, high performance storage, and networking and compute elements to meet their performance needs, right? And it's a strong foundation that enables your customer to build modern application that can scale with the built-in security and management, right? So, and another benefit of the Azure is Azure, helps eases the complexity of managing and governing hybrid type of environment. I mean, if you want to use a multi-cloud environment, so using Azure Arc, which is a bridge that extend the Azure platform to help you build applications and services with the flexibility to run across data centers at their edge and in multi-cloud environment. So build and modernize cloud native application on any Kubernetes, right? So that's another benefit on the, I would say on Azure cloud with the hybrid cloud environment, right? So you can integrate, Azure monitoring, security, compliance into your DevOps toolkit as well, and get up and running immediately with your existing tools and practices, including GitHub, Terraform, and like a Visual Studio and other IDs, right? So you can write even the same application services APIs that can run consistently on premises across multi-cloud, right? So all these are the benefits with Azure we have. Yeah. Okay, so one of the most important thing, which is security, compliance, management, and operation benefit, of course. So there are some security, compliance, management, and operation benefits using Azure. Since Microsoft investing billions of dollars annually on security, so there are multi-layered security tools in Azure supporting compliance and addressing regulatory challenges, right? So, and Azure Active Directory helps protect access to resources and their data using strong authentication and risk-based adaptive access policies without compromising the user experience. And regarding compliance and management benefits, I would say if your organization needs to comply with the legal or any regulatory standards, so Azure is offering more than 90% compliance, including CIS benchmark, SOC 1 compliance, SOC 2, SOC 3, and ISO compliance, and NIST, and others a lot of, right, that reduce cost of compliance related penalties and also help you to develop compliant product with the security and benchmark. Yeah. Okay, now come to the point, which is what is a cloud migration and modernization concept, right? So first, you need to understand the three service group, which is SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS, right? So first, we need to understand the software as a service, SaaS, which is user not responsible for hardware and software updates in the SaaS, and usually it hosts it on a remote server or cloud, and it can accessible over the internet. I mean, very good example are HubSpot, Slack, Office 365, Dropbox, and GoToMeetings. Now come to the IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So cloud infrastructure, you can provision and manage over the internet from anywhere, and we can use for lift and shift approach, especially for the, I would say, legacy or any monolithic application that also give you the same feel and experience like your on-prem infrastructure, and you will have a complete control on your infrastructure using infrastructure as a service, right? For example, you have a virtual machines or any database server on your on-prem environment, so you can live with the same thing on the cloud, right? Okay, and companies usually may prefer IaaS, infrastructure as a service, to avoid spending time and money on purchasing and creating hardware and softwares. Example are VMs, DB servers, Azure networking, and disks. So these are, I would say, the example of IaaS. Now come to the PaaS. So in the PaaS, you don't need to worry about the managing and as administration of the infrastructure. You are only responsible for application, services, and DB configuration. right? And there are auto scalability feature, would be there, and you pay only for what you use. For example, Azure App Service, Azure Functions, Azure Kubernetes Services, APIM, Cosmos DB. There are a lot of examples. So I hope you got understanding of the SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS. Now, understanding migration and modernization. This is the funnel of the migration and modernization decision factor. Migration is moving on-prem workload to public cloud, including infrastructure, applications, services, and DBs. This is called migration. While modernization is updating your code framework that support on the cloud environment with latest tool and cloud native technology. These called modernization. And there are some decision factor involved before choosing any of them, which includes complexity, project project complexity, technical resources and their strength, budget, cost, time to market, also the dev velocity, and so sometime in order to consider immediate business need, we might go with the migration rather than modernization. So if we say go with the migration, that it means we are discussing about more or less IaaS, infrastructure as a service, which is faster time to market, right? Without changing the code. All right, now try to understand how we prioritize cloud migration and modernization. Sometimes we migrate first and modernize later, and sometimes we modernize during the move, right? Consider existing application. So what we would do, right? It depends on whether your application is a new, like developing from the scratch, or you want to migrate your existing workload or enterprise in the cloud. But with the new app, we should prefer serverless approach, which means cloud native, serverless functions, Cosmos DBs, Kubernetes, Synapse, and in AWS, we have a Lambda function, ECS, etc. So when we have existing monolithic application, so then we have two options usually. Either we migrate first and modernize later, or modernize during the move, right? So if we migrate first, then we have options like infrastructure as a service, like we use cloud infrastructure, for example, VMs, database servers, and that give us same experience of deployment and administration, administrative operations, so just like on-prem. So there is no learning curve or no code modification would be required, right? And where if we have modernization plan, then definitely we need to update our existing code in parallel and leverage PaaS services just like app service, containerization. For example, we can modernize our monolith application into microservice architecture. Then we can deploy on PaaS service like app service or Kubernetes, right? Here I have one example. You can see on your screen. Here we have the existing application, right? Which is on .NET. We have a database server on-prem, right? This is a monolith application with the anti architecture. So what would be the option to faster time to market and without investing on a development or modernization of the code? So we have three things, right? Either we go with the cloud infrastructure ready, right? So we only need to lift and shift our infrastructure, application, and database. So for the lift and shift, we preferred definitely cloud infrastructure ready approach, which is IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So we just need to provision the virtual machines, SQL servers, databases, or any database, right? And VMs, and then just need to move our infra application database on the cloud infrastructure, right? And if we need to move on the platform as a service, cloud optimized, right? Then definitely we need to, I would say, make some changes in the code, right? And a cloud optimization option, right? We need to modernize. We need to modernize this stuff, right? And we need to modernize this stuff. I think something has been changed from the slide deck. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah. Cloud optimization, right? So we need to make some changes, and for the cloud native, yeah, we need to re-architect the entire application, right? And then we go with the serverless approach. So now moving how to migrate our on-prem workload on a on-prem workload in the cloud, right? So these are the steps of migrating and modernization to the cloud. Yeah. So based on cloud adoption framework, we can break migration and modernization into 3 blocks. First is planning, which includes strategy and aligning stakeholders, engaging the partners, discovery, assessment of environment, and then share migration plan, right? And beside all this, we have implementation block. Here we can create landing zone, do some modernization of code using iterative approach, leveraging automation tool like CI/CD and ARM templates. And last would be the operations, which covers the governance and managing the thing, which take care of the best practices, standard benchmark, cost monitoring, and security posters as well. Here is a detail, of the detailed breakdown of the cloud adoption framework, into the 6 phases that include the defining a strategy, assessment, and migration plan, then creation of the landing zone. And in adoption phase, we are modernizing and innovation with the scenarios, right? And then govern and manage after the implementation. So this is a very, most important slide from the perspective of governance model. The governance model baseline on the 5 disciplines, right? Cost management, to monitor, manage, and create cost accountability, security baseline that ensures security and compliance requirement, consistency and resource configuration that ensure best practices and standards, identity baseline that ensure identity access policies and role assignments, and then deployment acceleration to ensure deployment through standard and consistent ARM template and scripts, right? Okay. I think we have any questions on our chat screens. I can see some questions. Okay. All right, guys. We have some questions from the participants, so I would love to. Yes. One question is, can I have SAP running on Azure? Yeah, definitely. We have SAP support as well. We can have a multiple integration, and SaaS on the Azure side. So yeah, this is the one of the case where we can integrate with the SAP, and we can have a support on SAP as well. Yeah. Another question would be, okay, advantages of cloud: reuse, capex and opex, pay-as-you-go model. Yes, of course. To reduce capital expenditure and operational expenditure. The question is, can we go with the pay-as-you-go model? So my answer is partially yes, because beside pay-as-you-go model, we need to ensure our governance policy, right? In the governance policy, which I'm already elaborating the governance model, which includes the cost management, right? So, during the governance model, what we are doing, we manage the cost, optimize the cost, monitor the cost as well. So how can we do this? We can enable the scheduler to, shut down, or start or stop our VMs, and as well as we have automation script and runbooks, right, to auto shut down our instances or other resources if they are in idle condition or they are not using. And we have policies as well. We can scale up and scale down based on the usage. For example, on the Kubernetes, I have some policies, right, on AK's side. Suppose if the utilization is a 50%, more than a 50%, then I can set up, hey, please spin up the more nodes, more machines, right? And we can also set if the utilization below the 30%, so you can scale down the rest of the running resources or VMs or nodes, right? So I think that's the answer to your questions, guys. Yep. All right, moving on. I think we have covered pretty much on the governance side, right? Including cost management, security baseline, and identity baseline, right? Moving on. So this is the big picture of migration, right? Okay, you can see the big picture of migration, which is, I would say, let me, chat box. Okay, the assess, migrate, and optimize. So this is from 10,000 feet view, big picture of migration, which broken into 3 phases. In assessment phase, we do discovery and assessment of environment, leveraging some tools and techniques, and come up with the migration plan. In migration phase, we execute migration plan with the right strategy, which we have identified in the assessment phase, like rehost. It could be rehost, replace, re-architect, or rebuild, even replace, right? So in optimization phase, we review Azure cost management, excuse me, security and management resources to govern, security and monitor the cloud application, create some runbook or automation script to stop or scale resources basis on their utilization. That's actually answer to your question, your last question, right? Okay, so this is actually the choice of tool, every stage and every requirement. Yeah, so we have Azure Migrate Assistant, and migrate for server migration, and for the database migration assessment and migration TMS tool for web apps, VDIs, and some partner tools as well for assessment and for migrations, as well. So we can leverage those tools as well. This is, the slide which shows the lowest risk path to the cloud, right? So doing some workshops and technical migration assessment. During the assessment, we generate some migration plan right after the assessment, and then apply some business cases, use cases, and deploy some initial workload for the POC purpose, and then real implementation to the cloud. And then definitely would go with the optimization of the cloud services and cost saving strategies, right? Using cost management and other stuff too. So this is the I would say the lowest risk path to the cloud. Assessment, business use case, POCs, and then go with the real implementation. So these are migration and modernization approaches that would have been identified in a migration plan after assessment, and and some of them you would know basis on qualitative and quantitative consideration. This matrix also called 5 R's concept. So let's discuss one by one. First and most important, which is rehost, which is also called lift and shift. So in this case, what you do, you go with the IaaS, infrastructure as a services. You only need to move your application infrastructure database without changing in a code, right? Uh, as is. It's also called as is, right? So that gives you same feeler like you have on an on-prem environment. You will be leveraging the infrastructure on the cloud from anywhere, right? Just so the example is like VMs and database servers, blah blah. Another migration strategy, definitely, that's also identified in your business case during the assessment and in migration plan. Either we go with the rehost or refactor. So in a refactor, we usually a little bit more change in some modification of the code. Like for example, uh, you are running with the cache, right, on your on-prem environment. So on the cloud side, rather than using in-memory caching, you might need to change in a code, little bit of code, and replace with the like Redis cache either. So and you can deploy on a platform as a services, right? So these called, refactor. This is called a refactor, right? Okay. So this is a refactor, a little bit of code modification, and we go with the, okay. We have another question. How long would it take to migrate on cloud, and how would we handle the transition? All right, we have a Veraqor strategy, right? Definitely, we have a question from Omar, right? So, it will take definitely based on the business use case. Depend on the workload that you have, right? And it depends on your scope and your workloads, on the number of VMs or your enterprise, scale and size of your enterprise, right? So and it's definitely assessed during the assessment process, right? So we have a as a Veracor, we have a strategy for that. I'll walk you through at the end, definitely. Thank you, Umar, for asking this question. All right, moving on. Another strategy is a re-architect, right? So in re-architect, you need to re-architect your application completely. Then you can provision, or you can go with the native application or a serverless approach, right? You can deploy on a for the re-architect, for example, you have a monolith application, right? And you want to use a serverless approach. So what you would do, you need to decompose your monolithic application to microservice architecture together, and then you can take advantage of AK's scalability and other stuff on the cloud native scalability features. So you need to decompose your monolith service architecture into microservice architecture. Then you can deploy your services on Azure Kubernetes, and then you can take a good benefit of the scaling on a cloud native approach, right? With the cloud native approach. So in this case, we need to re-architect your application architecture, but definitely that needs time and money as well. That's investment, huge investment. Again, the fourth R is rebuild, right? So rebuild is from the scratch. You want to build on a cloud native technology, serverless functions, logic apps, and purely leveraging the cloud native technology and tools. So this is the rebuild case from the scratch. Usually when we are building or developing some application from the scratch, then we can we can say, hey, this strategy would be the rebuild strategy for the new application, which would be a totally cloud native. So these are the serverless platform components on Azure platform, which includes, Azure Function, Logic App, Event Grid. So across all this, Cosmos DBs and other analytics and IoT tools for the serverless operations. So guys, you can see the implementation cost would be higher in the rebuild because it's from the scratch. You need to develop some cloud native application, and the cost and time would be reduced in the re-architect case. And comparatively, definitely, I mean, in a rehost, you can see you don't need to modify and change in your code because you need to just follow the lift and shift approach from one environment, on-prem infrastructure, to the cloud infrastructure. So that would be the time and cost saving, which is a rehost, right? So then we would definitely prefer IaaS, right? Infrastructure as a service. So this is, ratio of the implementation cost and migration strategy. Okay, so cloud cost optimization always important, and we offer a variety of consumption models, monitoring and forecasting tools to help our customers, right, to govern and secure their environment, right? So Veraqor have some offers for you and strategy. You can accelerate your migration with Veraqor. Here are some Veraqor migration strategy. We are providing free briefing sessions for you, and then we have other paid offers like assessment of your environment, including discovery with the complete migration plan, and also proof of concepts, implementation, and other enterprise consulting offering that includes governance and security and other compliance monitoring and cost management of your environment. So yep, thank you very much. Really appreciate. Please share your feedback and to m2@veracor.io. Over to you, Chris. Thank you for joining, guys. If you have any questions, so you guys can ask. Yep.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you everybody for participating. We're going to follow up with a brief survey. If you don't mind taking a look at that, we'd really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to having another one of these here in the future. And thank you again. Take care.
Thank you.